Hey, welcome back everybody to another Matt at the Cabin. I'm outside in my absolute favorite place to hike actually. So you'll see hopefully a lot of nature, and I'll try to point out some things as I go along. I just got to keep my eyes on the path too, because this one can be a little tricky at times. So I'll go slow, but I don't want to lose it here on camera either. So this morning as I'm going, I just finished a great cup of coffee. I figured I would talk a little bit about why you drink or why people drink, and then what you can do to stop that. So I think the first thing is to recognize why you drink, right? What is it that draws you to alcohol? And there's four major categories for people and why they drink. So the first one is the social drinker, the person who conforms to, the pressures of drinking in social groups and stuff like that. The second one is the peer pressure person. Everybody else is doing it, so I got to do it. That's the conformist drinker. The third, it's fun. I'm gonna have a great time. I enjoy it. I don't have to worry about the stressors of my life, and it's pleasurable, and it's a good thing, and makes everything else better. And then the fourth is the coping drinker, the person who drinks to cope with the other stressors that they have in their life and stuff like that. So I'm gonna go a little bit more detailed, but the first part of this process, if you can identify why you drink and which category you fall into, then certainly you can also then start to take stock in how to identify those triggers and change some things. So that's what we're going to get into a little bit here this morning as we walk on my favorite area. So the first, like I said, a lot of people drink to relieve stress, or so they think they're going to be able to relieve their stress. But we've talked about how it just becomes a cyclical issue, and ultimately, the depression, anxiety cycle, and the stress just continues more and more, and it doesn't really help in that regard. But a lot of people feel that does help in that regard. So that's one of the main reasons people go to alcohol, is just the day-to-day stressors, and they think it's going to kind of cure some of those issues that they may have. The other big piece is the socializing aspect. And there's so much pressure out there in social groups and work groups and whatnot to participate in drinking, and it can take its toll on somebody because it's everywhere. You watch TV, there's advertisements everywhere about how fun it can be to drink socially. There's different targeted groups for drinking socially. I mean, you think about all the seltzer and all that other stuff now, and traditionally you'd have to get used to like the taste of beer or liquor or alcohol. You don't even have to do that anymore. So there's the whole social part, and I've talked about how at work, if you go to a work party, it's always there, and it does take some time to try to figure out how to navigate some of that stuff. So the social aspect is part of it, just because it's everywhere and it's so hard to kind of get around. Third is people's moods. So you can be happy and you can drink because you're happy and you're celebrating something. You can be sad and you can drink because you want to get rid of that sadness, or you think that when you drink, you're going to get rid of that sadness. So the mood swings that people go through just on a normal day-to-day basis, with or without alcohol, it doesn't really matter. That's just a huge part of that. And I think that's something that you have to identify and be aware of. And, what is your mood when you tend to get to drinking and things like that? I got to show you this. It's so cool. So on this walk, I often see things like this, which is evidence of beavers that live around here. And they just get after these trees, and they fell trees, and they make their dams out here in the water and the big ponds and lakes. It's just awesome. But mood stuff can obviously have an impact on you, as well as the celebrations. And I've talked about this in the past, but when you have big celebrations, people tend to celebrate with alcohol, whether it's a wedding, job promotion, even getting pregnant, having a baby, whatever the case is. All those things are a part of it. Holidays too. We're getting into the holiday season, and that can be a really tough one. I kid you not. During Halloween, and you probably experience this, shouldn't be a surprise, I guess, to people. during Halloween, we were out with our kids, and it was awesome. The neighborhood was great. Hundreds of people. But all, many of the houses we went to, they had candy for kids and shots for the adults. They said, hey, it's the adult Halloween trick or treat. Here, have a Jello shot, have this, have this. One guy was pouring out shots of Jägermeister. So you have to be aware that those things are going to happen, and kind of how to identify to work through those things. I mean, easy for me, I just said no. But if you're not anticipating that, that certainly can be quite an issue. All right, I got to show you something else. I'm up here at the turnabout, and if you look behind me, I'm just going to turn a bit. You're going to see two swans right there, and that is part of the reason why I love being out here. You're going to come in touch with nature. I've talked about that before. The solitude of being out here with the animals and the nature around you and the change of the seasons, it's the best. But that's for another video, I think. Just wanted to share that with you. I talked about peer pressure, peer groups, all that stuff is lumped in with the societal aspects of drinking, and what you try to do in that regard, and all those types of things. And so that's not anything new, or the celebrations that we all tend to have and go through. There's neurological impact on your brain when you drink alcohol. It changes the way that your brain works, and over time your brain gets used to it. It becomes your normal. That's a big reason why people drink. It's the normal function of their brain. It takes over how their brain actually works, and that's why recovery in the first 48, 72 hours, 5 days is so difficult, because you have to learn, your brain has to learn that it's not going to have that feed anymore. It's not going to get that alcohol anymore. So a lot of people drink simply because of the neurological changes in your brain. It's the addiction piece of it. It's the psychological, mental part. And you just find yourself going back to alcohol. Maybe for you think no reason, but there's certainly a reason for that, right? For sure there is. The other one that I think is often overlooked sometimes, and this was my experience too, man, it's damn fun, right? Alcohol can be a ton of fun. People think, and I have been in those situations where, alcohol's great. It's a lot of fun. You can have a lot of fun with it. You can enjoy your time with it. I mean, it's just, there is the belief that it makes things so much more pleasurable. And that's a huge part of it. Just thinking that it's fun, and you can't really get over those things, and you want to enjoy the moment that you're in, and everybody else seems to be enjoying their moment too. Obviously, people will drink to avoid things, to avoid tough conversations, sometimes to make those conversations easier. The reasoning aspects of your brain tend to shut down a little bit when you're under the influence of alcohol, and the emotional parts of your brain tend to increase, and you respond much more without inhibitions and things like that. So you try to avoid things, or you would think that you would make some of those things easier. And then it's the habitual part, right? If your body gets used to drinking 3, 4, 5 times a week, 7, 8, 9, 10 drinks a week, or maybe a sitting if that's what you would do, your body gets used to that. And what happens is that it becomes your normal, and then you try to get sober, or you don't try to get sober, but if you do try to get sober, then it becomes very different. And all of a sudden, it's not normal for you. The reality is, there's tons of groups out there where sobriety is the normal, it is the healthy, and it is the choice that everybody should make. Alcohol is a poison, it's a toxin, but I'm not going to scream from the mountaintop about it. I'm just going to try to educate people and remind myself of why I've done the things that I do to be sober, and continue to go down the path that I'm on. And so I talked about how there's these 4 different types of drinkers. I'll just review those quickly before I get into ways to decrease your drinking, or hopefully stop it altogether. There's the social drinker, the coping drinker, the conforming drinker, and then the man, it's fun, pleasurable drinker. Those are the big 4. And if you can identify why you tend to drink alcohol, then you can start to reduce your reliance on alcohol for different things. So first, it's know your triggers, know your urges. What triggers you to look to alcohol? What urges do you have, and can you get through those urges in order to continue on and go to the next one and the next one and the next one, right? That's the important part, and one of the things that I think we're talking about today. You got to try to find other coping mechanisms. You can find a ton of stuff anywhere you look on substitute activities outside of drinking. I'm doing one right now. I'm hiking, I'm in nature. This is my therapy sometimes, and it is the best way to relocate or reinvest in myself and my spiritual and mental health and my physical health. It's all three. You can't beat it. You cannot beat getting out in the woods, walking, hiking. There's just so many benefits to it that I wish people would take more advantage of, because it is just a beautiful thing for your body, mind, and soul. So look for things that you can replace. Some could be gardening, could be meditation, could be exercising, working out, going to the gym, could be a new hobby like investing in cooking, whatever the heck it is. Try to find it and identify what that is for you. If you need to, you can set some goals for yourself, like, hey, I'm gonna only drink 2 drinks this week, or I'm gonna only drink once this month, or I'm gonna go sober for 30 days and I'm gonna then see what happens after that. Those are great ways that you can try to set milestones for yourself, and they're small victories and wins, but they're still victories and wins, and it's awesome. It's kind of how I started. I said I'm gonna go 30 days, and I'm right about 800 days now. So, you know, you just keep rolling on and you keep doing your thing and you'll get it, which is great. If you need to, I always talk about support groups. AA obviously is a great support group. Meeting Guide is an awesome app. There's a lot of other ones that I've discussed in the past, but if you need support groups, or you need a support person, or maybe even a mentor, you know, try to find people in your life who either have gone through what you're going through and are making the decision to get sober, or that are just good people and can give you some insight into what you're trying to do. Maybe it's a best friend, a parent, a coworker, whatever the case is. For me, I have a few, and one of them is my Uncle Dan, and I've talked about that before. And you know, you got to be honest with yourself and honest with those around you. You got to learn how to say no in those social groups, or say no to yourself if it's about conforming to others or coping. You know, you use drinking as a coping mechanism. You got to learn to say no to that. Find some replacements. And if it's just damn fun, find some other ways to have a lot of fun, because there's tons of ways out there. I have found that when I'm in social groups where a lot of people are drinking and I'm clearly not, it's interesting to watch how things happen, and you know, their behavior starts to change and stuff like that. It's just one of those things that you can observe and things like that. And then honestly, the only other story I wanted to touch upon was one thing that I did recently. I was at a party, like an adult party. There were quite a few people there. It was also like a banquet, to be honest with you, and there were a lot of people there, and there was like an open bar or something. And at the time, sometimes I'm great with it and it doesn't bother me, but this time in particular, for some reason, it's just bothering me a little bit. So I just did my own thing. You know, I went for a walk, and when it was time to eat, I just kind of ate off to the side. And for me, that was okay. I just did it. I was comfortable with it. I'm at a place where I'm confident in myself, and it doesn't really bother me. You know, mentally, emotionally, I feel good about that. It doesn't make me sad. It doesn't make me wish I had been involved in those, that what the other people were doing. Is just what I was doing. And a waitress came up and said, "Sir, there are some open spots at tables if you want to go into the dining area and eat." And I said, "You know, I appreciate that, but to be honest, I'm recovering over some past stuff, and I'm sober now, and for me, it's just better to eat here." She said, "Oh, no problem. I get it. Totally understand. Just wanted to help out." And I was just honest. In other places I might not have been, I would have said, "Nah, I'm good right here," or whatever. But I just told her where my head was and what I was really thinking. And that honesty was refreshing, that I'm in a place where I can own that and say that and move on and really be good about it and go day to day. And then the last thing, and I'm going to do a video about this in its entirety, is the power of journaling. So if you've identified what type of drinker you are, if you start to journal your day-to-day triggers, and you set goals for yourself and you write it out, all of those things help. All of those things become written. They become more truthful for some people. But man, journaling is so powerful. And there's actually a whole topic I'm going to do called journaling in recovery. So that's coming up next. I am at the top of my walk here. just a little bit longer video than the ones I've done, but I think it's important. I wanted to go over why people drink and summarize it, and then also discuss a little bit around, once you've identified that, what you can do to make changes. So again, my favorite place to be. It's the best up here. Just beautiful and quiet. And if you take time to experience this stuff sober or in recovery, your eyes are wide open and it's beautiful. So I hope you guys have a great journey along the way and you're doing the right things. And if this helps people, awesome. But I think that's it for now. So get after it. Good luck. Goodbye for now.